Thank you so much for having me here today and also asking Granger Reese for the opportunity to come and present. Just a bit about me to start with. So my name's Danielle Hatton. I am a principal consultant here at Granger Reese. I've been with the company for about 3 years or so. So like Ed and Ben, I am a headhunter and I work within the natural resources sector, which is anything from mining, metals, the aggregates industry, for example. And a huge objective of mine is also, as you can see that I'm the diversity and inclusion champion, is ensuring that our process in identifying senior leaders is as inclusive as possible, and also that we hold diversity and inclusion in everything that we do. So the way I wanted to structure this presentation today was to really get you thinking about how we use our social media platforms, and in addition to that, how we really present ourselves in terms of our personal branding across our social media platforms, and also how potential employers may see your social media. Now, I just want to put out there that I am not a social media expert, but in terms of my history, I have been through the graduate recruitment process. I have also recruited graduates for my own team. And in addition to that, I've spoken with a number of my clients about how people represent their brand and their personal brand. So I think this is a really good opportunity for us to start talking about these conversations and start talking about what we're putting out there. So what I wanted to do first and foremost today is let's look at the platforms that we use. So who here has Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube? Maybe some of you may have thought about your LinkedIn profile. Well, a lot of people will use social media and these platforms. And what I wanted to spend some time doing today is thinking, well, what do we use these platforms? Sorry. What do we use these platforms for? Is it connecting with our friends? Is it following our favorite celebrities? Is it to keep up to date on company news, for example? Well, I think first and foremost, what we need to do is probably look at the scale of what social media reaches and the wide audience that we can reach. So if we look at the scale, so there is approximately 7.674 billion people in the world. And if we look at how many of those individuals have access to the internet, well, that's approximately 4.72 billion active internet users worldwide. So that means that 61% of the world has access to the internet. Now, you might think I'm a bit crazy here, going, why are you talking about how many people have access to the internet? Well, social media is so popular, we need to see how many people actually utilize this platform. So how far does our social media reach? Well, of those individuals who have access to the internet, 60% of people use Facebook. That's 2.85 billion people in Q1 of this year. Around 23% of those have Instagram, 15% use TikTok monthly, 7% Twitter, and 15% use LinkedIn. So that's quite a significant amount of people that we can reach through one click. But in addition to that, that means that there's a significant amount of people who can reach you through one click, which kind of feels like an invasion of privacy, doesn't it? But actually, if we use the biggest social media platform, Facebook, for example, if 60% of those individuals who have access to the internet have Facebook, what about the remaining 30%? The remaining 30% can still access you through Google. If they typed your name in, your link to your Facebook could pop up. So in addition to that, which again may sound a bit scary, there are applications out there such as Brand Yourself website that can pull up your social media content. And what we are finding is that employers are utilizing these more and more when they're doing background checks, when they're considering how individuals may represent themselves, represent the company, etc. So I think this is a really good quote where everything you post on social media impacts your personal brand, because everything we post and every picture that we share and every that we create, it's a representation of us. And actually, how do we want to be known, and how do we want to present ourselves? So if a picture and a post is worth 1,000 words, what does this mean? Okay, so the way I wanted to structure this as well is look at how social media has had impact on careers. So you may have seen most recently in the press that Chrissy Teigen, this is 10 years ago, may I add, wrote some really inappropriate comments, or tweets, I should say, about Courtney Stodden, who was, I think, a reality star at the time. And what she may have thought was a joke at the time, or thought her audience wanted to see, actually has now branded her as a cyber bully. And she's lost endorsements, she's lost deals with Netflix. So what I want this to get you thinking about is what we're posting now. In 10 years' time, when I am that future leader, what could that mean for me? We've most recently seen Ollie Humphries, who, when he was a teenager, is now being held accountable for tweets that he put out at the time of when he was a teenager. He's now been dropped by the English cricket team. And again, he's being held accountable for his actions. Now, I know that these are celebrities in our public eye, but this also happens in everyday companies. So Google's head of diversity has been slammed surrounding a blog regarding some comments he made about Jews, and that was back in 2007. And a journalist surrounding a comment he made about Trump, a teacher surrounding some of the photos that she was putting out there as well on her Instagram. And in addition to that, a man at Chrysler, he made some obscene tweet and he was let go from the company. Now, this isn't here to scare you, as I just want to highlight throughout this presentation. What I want you to start thinking about is to self-reflect about the content that we put out there, and who may be interpreting this content, and the longevity of that content as well. So let's look at our audience. So we're looking at our audience and the first impressions that we can make through social media. Now, when we consider the human attention span is relatively short. It's shorter than a goldfish. It is about 6 to 8 seconds, actually. So it takes 7 seconds to make a first impression. And this is when meeting an individual, and there's loads of contributors that add to this. So with regards to that, what they can mean is your appearance, your body language, the way that you dress, for example, your tone as well, your engagement with regards to eye contact. But what research also suggests is that the same rule applies to social media. So when we're considering our posts and the photos that we're putting out there, actually, the contributors towards our first impressions are limited, because we don't have our body language, we don't have the engagement, we don't have a conversation going, we don't have eye contact. We're genuinely having a judgment made on a photo. But what's also quite interesting, I personally find, is that Princeton University has actually found that it can take 1/10 of a second to form an impression, and that's of a stranger's face. So that's just by walking past them. So what does that mean if you're just clicking on someone's Instagram or their Facebook? So I now just want to say is that when we reflect on our social media, it's about the platforms and what is the objectives of these platforms that we want to use them for. I'm not here to say don't have it. I'm not here to say don't post and be terrified. I'm just here to say, let's think about where my content belongs and how we utilize these. So do I utilize my Facebook for personal use? Is it private? Who are my connections? Are they my friends, my family? Or are they individuals who I potentially work with? Am I happy for them to see that content? Do I use my social media for professional use? What does my picture of myself on my social media say about me? Do I do it to share stories and update people about what's going on in my life? Brilliant, fantastic. It keeps us so connected. But what are the stories that I'm sharing out there? So let's look at the content that we create. Some of the things that I just want to recommend are these 4 key pillars. So post smart. If you have doubts, maybe don't post it. Keep it confidential. So keep your accounts private. So understand these platforms. Can you be accessible through just a Google search? If an employer was to put your name into Google, could they have access to your Facebook profile? And then with your Facebook profile, can they see things that happened 5 years ago, or the journey that you've gone through university, where you've been out socializing, you've been out clubbing, etc.? Who am I adding on my accounts as well? If I do get a graduate role, am I happy for my boss or our office manager to be a friend of mine on Instagram and see how I see what I do in my spare time? Or do I want to keep that connection separate? Also, be authentic. Social media is a reflection of you, and also just when I say you, it's a brand. It's what your values are. It's your authentic self. So for example, if we talk about the fact that sustainability is a huge value in me, if I'm on my social media, am I going to be putting massive posts on about me jetting off on loads of holidays, for example, or me in front of fancy cars, which is maybe what I think my audience might want to see? I probably wouldn't, because that doesn't really align with my sustainability value. And then the last one is just to be prepared. So when we do post things out there, I think what's really evident to see is the fact that some people may interpret what we're posting out there slightly differently, because everyone has their own opinions and judgments, and also know individuals differently. Some may only know you through Instagram. Some may know you as your best friend. But just be prepared that some people may interpret it differently. And if it is interpreted negatively, for example, then you may have to face some consequences. So, one of the biggest tips that I received when I first started university was how to build my personal brand, but professionally. So, we've looked at Facebook, we've looked at Instagram, we've looked at how maybe employers might do a Google search on you and see what you're posting in your photos, etc. But actually, I could build a professional brand when I'm at university, and we can use social media professionally. There is a platform called LinkedIn, which is a professional network, which allows us to connect with people we would have never thought of connecting before. And what I would recommend is that you speak with your migrant leaders mentor on how you could utilize this during your university degree program. What's fantastic about this is it allows you to allow employers, it gives you access to hiring managers and employers, but it also allows you to present you as a professional individual. So what do I mean by that? It allows you to share your learning through your 3-year university course, for example. It will allow you to upload a CV. It will allow you to really connect with those and the companies that you're interested in working for moving forward. Now, in your first year, you might not really have much to say, but don't let it be dormant, because what it allows you also to do is build a professional network around you. So if you have interests in working for companies such as EY when you graduate, or law firms, you can connect with these companies and follow their news. So when we go towards this interview stage, you understand what's the company's doing, their drivers, their values, what changes they've been engaging in, and actually have an open discussion with those hiring managers and potential employers, demonstrating your vested interest. It will allow you to also see job openings as well, so you can keep up to date on when graduate applications are being posted, are being opened, for example, and also potential work experience. I'd like to just open the floor up to any questions that you may have now as well. But what I would recommend that you do just surrounding social media is, after this session today, just maybe have a little self-reflect on what content you've been putting out there, and does it represent you? But in addition to that, connect with your migrant leaders mentor towards the beginning of your university journey, and see how we can utilize LinkedIn to really get you out there in front of these potential employers as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Danielle. You've been fantastic. Thank you.